And a very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Newsline Live. Sri Lanka continues today the 33rd day of the people's protest against the unplanned economy, the poor governance and various other matters in between, including of course the most important of all, the US dollar availability crisis, and of course the availability of essential items, the rising cost of many items, including some that are over 100% more than they were. Direct result, of course, of the near 100% devaluation of our currency, in effect. Today, the crowd seemed to have sort of reduced a little bit, but at Gota Gama, which is also the entrance to the presidential secretariat in Colombo, the old parliament, in front of one of these new hotels, the crowds are still there with the same amount of passion, perhaps not so many numbers because of the curfew, but some of these have been defying. And it was met with several reminders during the day from the police to the protesting public there that there is a curfew in place and that they shouldn't be where they were. I must say that it appeared to me that it fell on deaf ears because the crowd only became even more vociferous at the time. Now then, there is an announcement now that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa will be addressing the nation starting at 9 o'clock today. I wonder what the curbside chat is saying about the potential for the new Prime Minister. We have several news alerts going out that the new Prime Minister, the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has had discussions or had a meeting with Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. In the event that Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe agrees and is proposed by everybody to be the interim Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, let me tell you that there are very few people who've served as many terms as Prime Minister as has Mr. Wickremesinghe, even before today. So it's interesting times, and hopefully after 9 o'clock we may well have some news on that. But my guest this evening is a senior attorney at law whose speciality includes constitutional and administrative law. He's right here on my program, and it's a great pleasure to welcome to Newsline Live a product of Newsfirst, the People's Channel, Sirasa, Shakti and TV1 of course. And he's right here. Great pleasure to welcome Mr. Vijay Bandara. Very good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you.
Thank you very much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Now then, 33 days, today is the 33rd day. The people's protest appears to have, well, not appears, it already has. The cabinet has resigned once. The Prime Minister, who was once upon a time the war-winning president, has resigned. And at the moment we are without a cabinet and without a Prime Minister. But what do you think? Why is it? How come the people made such a difference?
Yeah, if you go to the fundamentals of constitutionalism, the constitutional law, the entire power of state, including rulers, emanate from people. That we call sovereignty. And also theoretically we define it as social contract. Social contract demand whoever who is elected democratically has to do things continuously to justify for him or her being in power. It is a continuous justification. Between two elections, the whoever who become president in terms of Sri Lankan constitution, whoever who become members of parliament, members of cabinet, they have to keep justifying their being in that particular position. Now what happened in this situation, with due respect to the incumbent president, from the inception of election, most of his decision taken by or promulgated by under his hand has become wrong or erroneous, which is right now admitted by themselves. Therefore, gradually, step by step, this incumbent president lost that justification, which is universally accepted principle, where any ruler has to get justification from his community. Step by step, every decision, starting from COVID management, laws was discriminatively applied. He failed to take any action. Many number of gazetted notification promulgated or passed. In day or two time, those were withdrawn. Then there was a very wide publicity for 20th Amendment. There's amidst objection by various quarters of civil rights movements, and then that was passed, and recently cabinet resolved that that amendment must go out. So what is the use of? Same way I can list out many number of decisions, all went wrong. Now recently, let us take 8th of May. 8th of May. This, as you rightly said, this is 33rd day of this civil demonstration, which they have been doing very peaceful manner. That is their democratic right. While respecting them to come forward to voice on behalf of the people of this country. What happened on 8th? Your media also published, all other media published that there was some dialogue between by association and the president, by association and the opposition, and the president and some opposition, and there was some hopes were given to the people that there will be interim government. Then those who were concerned about the dollar issue, economic issue, all the crisis, they had a very glimpse of expectation. But what happened on having done so, what happened on 9th? You know, the temple trees and gold paste green is like 1 kilometer or less than, or two, I know, right? Then they knew jolly well. In fact, they organized at temple trees. A mob of people on their invitation came by buses and various other means of transportation. They knew that there is no need for intelligence reports. They knew that whoever who comes, it is in support of former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Of course, I respect anybody's views, expression. They can say, if somebody thinks, yes, Mahinda Rajapaksa is better, so that is their view, we have to respect. They can demonstrate that peacefully, but issue is not that. What happened? They knew that these two factions are deadly against each other. You need no any other evidence to that. It is common.
But you see, Mr. Vijay Bandara, that's the whole point here. That those people, they went from temple trees across the road to the peaceful protesters,
that is exactly,
and they attacked them.
Yeah, that's exactly I want to say. Then they knew that if you permit them to go together, there will be a serious breach of peace. Police entirely failed. They could have easily prevented, President being the head of the defense, could have easily taken step to prevent that mixture of these two people. But they deliberately, I must say,
highly inflammable mix.
Exactly. And they deliberately and willfully planned to bring them, I'm referring to temple trees mob, and planned to let them go there and created this situation that is shocking, that led to violence throughout the country. Therefore, it is utter negligence. Then how can, with respect to President, he had been losing his justification, and when he come time when people come forward and when he about to give certain solution on 8th and people were just coming and negotiating, what he did or what he failed to do, I say it is a utter negligence, or it is a deliberate action that has to be condemned in all means.
Is it tantamount to a charge that can be sustained, also known as incitement to violence?
Exactly. And you know, now in about Easter Sunday attack, even sometime then IGP was in remand for years.
Yeah.
And he was convicted, subsequently released. But that is, the law says, if you negligence go to that level.
Was he convicted or was he remanded?
he was remanded, prosecuted, and then
released.
Discharged.
Okay.
But as far as law is concerned, we don't know a particular incident after investigation at the trial whether he will be discharged or convicted.
Yeah.
But there are sufficient ground. What I am saying right now.
Prima facie case.
Yes, prima facie case against Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa, against Secretary Defence, against IGP.
You mean in this incident?
Yeah, that took place on 9th.
Yeah.
Very clear evidence for the police to set in motion an investigation.
But will they? Will they though?
That is the issue of the trust. We cannot trust anything. We can talk law. The entire nation has lost trust. That is why we are...
But not only is there a trust deficit in Sri Lanka, but there is a trust deficit across the world about Sri Lanka.
Exactly. Yes, I do.
And so which lender of, whether it is a lender of last resort or whether it's any other kind of lender in international agency, who in their right mind will lend to a country which is suffering from severe political turbulence, instability?
Yes, that is the bad impact that we all may face in future as a result of this incident. Even, you know, it is universally recognized concept. I am preparing to the preamble to the UN Declaration of Human Rights. It defines human right, among others, that these are basic rights that a state must ensure to avoid civilian rebelling against the state. When a state is inactive, is in disarray, no prime minister, no cabinet. This is not only after 9th, even previously there was no cabinet. Few ministers were appointed.
Yeah.
Constitution was totally disregarded. Then where the solution lie? We all talk. The only person who can resolve this problem for the moment, I'm saying that this entire system should be changed and constitutional amendment should come.
Yeah.
But before that,
yeah,
you have to ensure some kind of order in this country, which is totally lacking right now. It is not the fault of citizen. It is not the fault of young, enthusiastic civil rights activities who are in goal pace. It is the fault of the government. Government means it is the fault of the executive president, because we are under 20th amendment. We have very powerful executive president. But what did he do right now? So far, nothing. Therefore, if it is only person who can decide,
yeah,
and it is only person who can take decision.
Yes.
If he does not take decision, where we stand? As a lawyer, you ask me what is the solution.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say law provide to do so, but if the particular person is not acting upon the law,
yeah,
not discharging his function, and is in a wind of silence and issuing twisted message only, I hope that I am welcoming if the president address the nation and say something. That's what we expected. Hope that it will happen. But having said that, so far, from his side, this action was not taken. Therefore, country went to an anarchy.
So therefore, would you say that it is a failed presidency?
I have no other, but yes, truly he is a failed president.
A failed president?
Yes. Not only one instance, throughout.
What about his claim that, you know, he was unable to do these things because of some corrupt ministers?
There are laws, there are powers, and then there are always violations. But we appoint a president with a mandate to ensure peace, public order, and economic stability.
And on that note, let's go for a short break, take a peek at this evening's headline news from the News First Primetime News team. We'll see you on the other side of the break, shall we?
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
A message to protesters at Gotago Gama. Army officials patrol the streets of Colombo. Defence Secretary's assurance.
අපේ රාජකාරිවලට බාධා කරන්න එපා.
තිබිලා තියෙන බලතල අනුව ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න ත්‍රිවිධ හමුදාවත් පොලිසිය කිසිම වෙලාවක මැලි වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Central Bank Governor hints at resigning. Political parties put forth conditions to form interim government.
වර්තමාන ජනාධිපති ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ වහාම සිය ධූරයෙන් ඉවත් විය යුතුයි.
සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයා විපක්ෂ නායකවරයා විදියට එතුමා මේ ආණ්ඩුව බාර ගන්නවා නම් ඒ ආණ්ඩුව ගෙනියන්න අපිට යම් සහයෝගයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් අපි ඒ සහයෝගය ලබා දෙන්න සූදානම්යි.
Human Rights Commission summons senior officials.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. I'm in conversation with the senior attorney at law specializing in constitutional and administrative law, Mr. Vijay Bandara. Mr. Bandara, thank you once again for being on the program, and also thank you to our viewers for the several questions. 0772 300 305 as always by SMS, and our producer Shahan Rantunga will be putting in the on the screen right now. Now then, the $1 million or the multi-billion dollar question, because Sri Lanka owes so much of money, is as to who the next Prime Minister will be. Curbside Chat says that it's going to be Ranil Wickremesinghe, and if it is, in that case, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe will probably set up a world record for the number of times the different terms that he has served as Prime Minister, incidentally none of which he has ever served a full term. That also must be a record. But Mr. Vijay Bandara, there was a clip in which the Defence Secretary explains that they don't shoot to kill, but they shoot to in the air and so on, to control the violence, to control the actions of the people, and that if they're pushed to a corner, so to speak, that they will shoot below, at sort of knee level. But having said that, he also said that it is that not all people or the shooters are all marksmen, meaning, of course, that accidents will happen, and therefore. But Mr. Vijay Bandara, I've also noticed 3 lots of armoured personnel carriers outside of Temple Trees headed towards Gulf Face. What does this all mean, and how should the people react?
Firstly, I didn't want to hear that statement from the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defence, and it is a statement he should not have made.
Why?
It shows, it frightened the people when a Secretary of Defence who failed to control the 9th incident now come and say police might make mistakes and they might fire. That is a statement some people can interpret it's a in advancement threat to the ongoing peaceful demonstration. You know why? Now it is known by your news and all other medias, today country was in a peaceful situation overall, and also at Gotabaya Gogama people very peacefully involved in their activities. In such a circumstances, what we saw from the morning to up to now, there are many armored cars, vehicles, personnel are deployed every junction of Colombo city, and also it is so even suburbs and outstation.
Yeah.
And we got news that speaker announcement given to the Gotabaya Gogama demonstrated reminding emergency laws. And also they said if civilian try to check vehicles, that has to be stopped. Of course, that is the law. I agree with that.
Yes, because civilians have no right.
But what is the message that is given right now? This is a pale Secretary Defense. If he acted with due diligence and genuinely, he would have prevented that very shocking incident taken place on 9th of May.
But having said all that, how should the people, the sovereign people of Sri Lanka, behave?
Believe in yourself that you are sovereign. Believe in yourself about your human right, where you have right to protest peacefully, right to dissent peacefully, right to voice peacefully. And also having said that, you are under emergency now. You are under curfew now, which had been imposed by a government which had been now rejected by people. But still, that law, it is possible to be implemented as the Secretary of Defense warned. Therefore, we should not make any room. Believe in yourself, believe in your objective, but don't even do single thing that leads to violence on your part. We all want peace. We all do not wish to even observe violence. But when the state, right now, most of the people, population, entire country are against, this is not my view, it is apparent view, the existing government and their decision.
This is a question from one of our viewers. Can the protesters at Gota Go Home Gama, you know, in front of, next door to the Presidential Secretariat, can they carry on protesting despite and in spite of the curfew?
Curfew and emergency regulation has passed. Technically, that area will come under emergency regulations. Therefore, these laws cannot be interpreted to you and me here. It is up to the courts. But as a precaution, the citizens should desist from any kind of violence. Therefore, there is no room for the police to use even minimum power.
So you mustn't give them any excuse.
Exactly.
So therefore, we must behave with a certain sense of decorum, responsibility,
tolerance, and with responsibility to ensure that your right to demonstrate peaceful is secured without being hampered by arbitrary power of the state.
2 days after declaring emergency, the police say they will arrest violators. Can the IGP be found guilty of negligence of duties and criminal breach of trust for not enforcing the law for 2 days? A very quick answer, please. We're running out of time.
Yes, certainly. There are previous instances as well. One of the IGP were arrested and he was set on trial before the High Court for East attack. This is very similar or more worse than that, because it led to entire country in turmoil. Therefore, yes, IGP, Senior DIG Western Province, and all the whoever who was the commanding police officer in that area during the material time, all can be arrested and dealt with by law.
And thank you for all your questions, including a few from the various places in Europe. Let's have a look to see. Now then, it says here, appointing Ranil as Prime Minister will be like jumping from the frying pan into the fire. What do you think?
As a citizen, I want to some kind of peaceful environment in country for us to talk any. And also there is a demand by citizen interim government by various professional bodies. But the demand of the people is not that. I have to respect and I have to say that people's demand of is the president should leave, prime minister should leave, their entire family should leave. That is people demand.
But only the President Gotabaya is left out of the family. Should he go? Should he resign? Is it time he resigned?
He should resign even after appointing a new prime minister. Whether your name you mentioned, Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe's appointment, will be good or bad, right now I am not going to comment. But if President Gotabaya Rajapaksa resign peacefully after doing such without creating any other problem tonight, that will be a great help to the nation. I would say thank you, Mr. President. If you bow down to the people's demands. So what we need is peace to the country, prosperity to the country, to some way out to get out of this dollar problem. We can't go on like this, anarchy. Therefore, only person, Mr. President, that is you, who can take decision. Please take decision. And also, you have failed to justify your being in power. So bow down to the people's demand peacefully.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay Bandara. It's almost time to come to the end of the program. We're going to be breaking off a couple of minutes earlier because President Gotabaya Rajapaksa will be addressing the nation at 9 o'clock. You can see it on all the channels. Now then, one other question, Mr. Vijay Bandara. Why aren't they having elections now? I know the country is in turmoil, money supply, but you can print local rupees to have that. After all, they've printed enough of local rupees. Why aren't they having elections?
I'm afraid I'm not an advocate to print more money.
Oh, no,
and also this election is not conducive at this juncture, and also I have very least expectation that.
But are they not having elections because perhaps some members of the Rajapaksa family and the wider Rajapaksa family, relatives and friends, so on, that they fear reprisals after a potential next election? Are they frightened of what might happen to them legally?
They may be, because they have demonstrated that they are scared. That is why Mr. President also trying various other tactics to be in power, and also step by step the Prime Minister resign. So they have very good reason to be fear, because there are so many allegations against corruptions and also about abuse of public property.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay Bandara, for your presence on Newsline Live. And on that note, we're taking your leave early today because it's time to listen to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's speech to the nation. But in the meantime, let me remind you that Sri Lanka, we are amazing. God bless you.